Hi everyone, welcome to MediaNama. So over the last 3 days, we've had this viral deepfake video involving uh, Rashmika Mandanna, an actress, and it's been getting attention on Twitter for a while for these 2 days. And we've also had the IT Minister Rajiv Chandrasekhar point towards that and refer to the IT rules and ask platforms to take it down. So we wanted to discuss that, and I have Nikhil here with me. So Nikhil, the deep fakes themselves are not new, but why do you think this is particularly now getting attention, this particular video? And what do you think India's regulatory landscape, how does it address deep fakes?
So, thanks, Sarvesh. So, the problem is a scale at which this particular video has garnered attention. And, everyone from an actress has made a plea publicly. Rashmika has made a plea about, this video and how if she was younger, she may not have been able to deal with this sort of a situation. And it's got the attention of, including Amitabh Bachchan, who's got millions of followers and has tweeted about it. So it's brought a sense of awareness to a different strata of people that these kind of deepfakes exist and they can be made public. And frankly, we are living, deepfakes are a reality of the world that we live in today. With the scale of AI, it's become easier, faster, cheaper to create more effective deepfakes, and that capacity is only going to grow as the ability to create these deepfakes increases. And then social media already provides a fairly significant distribution for this kind of content. And so it's very difficult to police it. Imagine if it was happening on an end-to-end encrypted platform like WhatsApp, you wouldn't be able to detect it and prevent it either. Um, but as we go into elections, and India is going into elections soon, in about 6 months' time, next year the US is also going to have elections. So we are also heading into an environment of deepfake elections. So for a democracy, for a society, what it does is that it hits at trust. Do you believe that a video that you're seeing is real or not? And this is where the role of fact checkers is going to become even more important, because um, eventually we'll have to have technology that also makes it easier, faster, cheaper, and better at detecting deepfakes. Um, the legal problem is really in terms of removing deepfakes, right? So, um, how do online platforms determine that a deepfake is not fair usage? How do they determine, whether it is defamatory or not? Um, how do they take down a deepfake across the platform if there is, let's say, a 15% uh, let's say modification of that video, or a 30% modification of that video? So even if you're, let's say, creating a hash of a particular video and then comparing it with hashes of all videos across the platform to take something down, how do you determine whether this is the video to take down or not? It could be, let's say, a news channel putting a small clip from that video up and commenting on it. So determining what a deep fake and is different from actually censoring it, and so that's where this game really becomes tricky. Also because of the volume of deep fakes that are expected to be generated during elections.
Okay. Uh, how do you think the IT rules deal with deep fakes? And is it sufficient enough, or do we need something else regulatory wise?
So the ministry, I believe, has highlighted two clauses in the IT rules. One is 31A and 31B, and the other is 32B. Now, if you look at the IT rules, 31B basically says that that an intermediary needs to have in its policies, um, like uh, it has to inform its users not to display, upload, modify, publish, transmit, or store or update any information that impersonates another person. And then three. So what it does is it only says that the policy should inform users not to do this. 3.2b is basically the grievance redressal, is a part of the grievance redressal clause, and that says that a platform or an intermediary, as they are called, within 24 hours of the receipt of a complaint of an individual, shall take down content which may be impersonation, uh, including artificially morphed images of an individual. It shall take all reasonable and practicable measures to remove or disable access to such content which is hosted, stored, published, or transmitted by it, right? So the question is, what is a reasonable and a practicable method? When you have thousands of hours of video going up at any given point in time, how do you determine what's reasonable for a platform to do? What is practicable for the platform to do? Like I was saying, if let's say someone uses 15 seconds of let's say a 2 minute or a 5 minute deep fake, how does a platform determine it's that? Is it reasonable for them to remove it? Is it practicable for them to remove it? So really, and all of this hinges on a complaint being made to the platform. So in this case, Rashmika needs to have filed a complaint with online platforms to take that content down, and it has to ideally be a specific link. Now, if that link is, if there are, let's say, 100,000 links that come up with the same content, how will they complain against 100,000 links? So the law allows for removal of that content, but then if it's not an exact match, is the law applicable or not? So these are all gray areas right now in terms of how platforms will deal with deep fakes, because like I said, satire could be another use case. It could be fair usage. That argument can also be made. So this is all gray area, and I know that there is a call for a global AI body to regulate deepfakes, but frankly, you only ask for a global body to regulate something when you don't want it to be regulated. So that entire logic of asking for a global body is flawed. These are the early days of AI regulation in the world, but it's very clear, number one, that we need to have more conversations, and we need to have conversations quickly to determine how to deal with such content.
Okay. And a lot of these AI platforms are talking about watermarking the videos that's generated on their platform. Do you think that could help tackle this problem, or is there another way to
I
think?
don't think so, to be honest, because just as easy as, so watermarking only applies to those tools that will uh, that will enable watermarking of content, right? So the most popular tools worldwide would enable watermarking, but then you also have tools that will come up that can strip the watermark. What do you do then? Who do you hold accountable? And so you know uh, it's one thing to be able to it's one thing to be able to identify or to identify that something is a deep fake through watermarking. That makes it easier. But then if it's not watermarked, then will you act on it? How do you know it's a deep fake in the first place, right? Unless someone goes and files a complaint.
Okay. And do you think platforms should be required to proactively look at and monitor such content, for example, maybe under the upcoming Digital India Act? Or what are
Uh,
your thoughts on proactive monitoring?
I think platforms are going to try and avoid proactive monitoring and take down as much as possible, because it's not possible for them to do it. How do they determine that something is a deep fake? How do you know that this is not a real video? Someone removes a watermark. How do they do it? So it may be reasonable for them to act on deep fakes that are watermarked. But then what if let's say I create a deep fake of myself, let's say sporting a mohawk or a crazy hairdo, right? Um, and I have friends who've done that just for fun. Uh, that will be watermarked as an AI tool. How will they proactively monitor for that deepfake? So I
Oh,
think the guidelines have to be very nuanced over here, because a lot of this is also going to be a positive use case, right? So, for example, we saw like Cadbury's come out with this ad where uh, Shah Rukh Khan wishes let's say, or suggests that someone in a locality should buy from a particular store, right? For Cadbury's, and that people were using to basically share with their friends and family, saying, "Buy from my store." In the same vein, last year for Diwali, Prime Minister Modi's, I think, voice was morphed by in was basically they were they were used to AI was used to translate Diwali wishes into multiple languages, many which he doesn't speak. And so these are all positive use cases. How do you regulate a technology, and how do you determine what is a positive use case, what is an intended use case, what is not? I don't think these problems are going to be easy to solve. What the government's natural tendency to do is to pass that problem onto platforms. And platforms, if they have liability attached to it, will I don't know how they'll deal with this liability, because they will never be able to survive that liability.
Yeah,
They will,
and
they will, they, how do you censor problematic content, or content which people don't want put up, while allowing content which they do want put up? Using pure play technology, how do you regulate this? It's the same problem as trying to regulate the speech of a billion people online. How do you regulate for bad use cases? There is no real answer here, which is where the best efforts approach is probably an ideal approach.
yeah. And I think it's also going to become harder with if safe harbor is going to be removed for platforms under the DIA, and then it raises even more questions about how they're going to censor deep fakes because they have to be more. Uh,
Let's
yeah.
let's not forget, no platform can survive, no speech platform can survive the removal of safe harbor.
Hmm. Okay.
And so that idea should ideally be dead on arrival, because actually these platforms enable far more free speech than they enable harmful speech. So
hmm.
we shouldn't let, let's say, if even if, let's say, 1% of content on the platform is harmful, uh, 99% of the content on the platform should not be at risk because of that 1%. We have to be very careful how we deal with safe harbor.
Yeah. Uh, on that note, I think that we will have a lot to talk about that in the coming months. But thanks a lot for your thoughts on this, Nikhil. Thank you everyone for watching.